Sunday.
It's Sunday morning.
I love mornings.
The games are over, and we're breaking it all down. This is your Morning After podcast, with all the insight and analysis on the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. The Morning After podcast with Hans, Scotty, and Lloyd Cole begins right now.
And he gave us an opportunity to come in here and show what we're made of.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, welcome in. It's another edition of the Morning After podcast. We've got good, we've got bad. We've got wins, and we've got a loss. So let's break it all down. Hans is still in Texas. We got Lloyd, who just came off the post-game show. I had a bye week, so I actually feel fully rested. Hey, guys, how you doing?
Hey.
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Hashtag grinding. Gosh, man. Whoever suggested to fly into Austin for a Waco game.
Did you get to the bottom of this? How the heck did you end up going through Austin? Because I believe you can fly into Waco, can't you? Or did all you guys go through Austin?
You got to fly into Dallas, I think, right?
I don't know. I think, Scotty, when I went to do it, I was looking at trying to fly into Waco, but we couldn't find a flight. I would have had to leave, and I would have been flying during the show. And
oh, gotcha.
Look,
you did that for the show, man. That's awesome.
See, when a man makes a commitment to a show, he honors that commitment.
I like it.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but it's not. It really wasn't bad. I mean, it ended up only being about 2.5 hours with traffic. So.
Well, and honestly, that's a very scenic drive, I'm sure.
It really ended up working out for you, didn't it, pal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fun to see those massive iron giants going up and down, pulling oil from the earth. Seeing a bunch of hay bales and open plains, and yeah, that was an amazing.
You sounded like you were wearing Tevas there for a sec.
What kind of bells?
Hay bales.
Hay bells.
Hey, Bills.
All right.
Gosh.
Hands.
It was all right, though. How are you boys? How did your weekend go?
Good. Like I said, I had a bye week, so and so you'd think that I would not be going to Logan, and yet I was at their basketball practice yesterday. So trying to make the transition into basketball. So yeah, it took Brody up, and he and I sat in and watched a lot of basketball yesterday. But Lloyd, you had a late night, man, and were there some cranky people?
Yeah, they're a little cranky. There's a little bit of grumpiness, on with the coaching a little bit of grumpiness with maybe a certain player that's played 4 quarters and has made $3 million, as I've seen on social media. Yeah, they're a little grumpy. It's not what they, it's not what Utah fans kind of expected when they were going into a blackout game, a night where they're, where they're all amped up. So yeah.
Lloyd, what did you say on air that had Jazz fan Bruce so upset?
Uh-oh. You act like I say something that's gonna set Bruce off. No, it's Bruce being Bruce. Are you kidding me? Do I have to say anything for Bruce to lose his mind?
Did he text you, or did he tweet at you, or anything?
Yeah, he tweeted at me, and it was just because I tweeted out. So, okay, let's get into the game. Why not?
All right, let's start with the Utah loss. Yep.
All right, so obviously, first couple, Utah comes out and is just firing it offensively. We're talking the type of drives they're owning the clock, and it has nothing to do with the defense. Obviously, it's early in the game. They take off 8 minutes in the first quarter, and they get down there. It stalls out, as we've seen Utah's offense do, but this time Witt decides he's going to go for it on 4th and 1, which we've seen him do, by the way. It's not like it's out of the realm. Just, typically he's back a little further, and it's like maybe on the the edge of not a field goal and possibly a field goal. Well, he goes for it. He does not get it and stalls out. Arizona then drives the field and gets a field goal. Or was it on the second drive they got a field goal? Anyways, they're doing pretty much the same thing in their first couple drives. Well, Utah has another drive where probably like their second drive, 7 minutes, and they get it. It's like 4th and 2 on about the 5-6 yard line, roughly. Goes for it again. This one's a RPO pass into the end zone, deflected, and now it's 0 points. And then Arizona goes down and scores a touchdown, and suddenly it's 10-3, and that's how we went into half. And so it was points that were left on the board. The offense was really moving it for the most part in those, early on. I mean, Mekhi Bernard, he finished with 16 carries and 91 yards. But it's from that point on, they played from behind in the game. And to be honest with you, and the defense was and it's not like Noah Fifita had a great game, but he made timely passes, made timely plays. They got it. I think they were down like 16-3, and Wilson finds Caleb Lohner. They get to 16-10, but they were just behind the whole time. And I mean, you got a freshman quarterback that you probably don't want passing the ball 40 times, and it got away from them. And the defense, like I said, they didn't even have a sack. They got some pressure on them, but Noah Fifita is so elusive. Every time it would be a corner blitz, he'd see it coming. He'd spin out of it and either find McMillan or he'd scramble for a first down. So it was probably, I would imagine, a frustrating game for Utah fans to watch.
Well, there's a couple things here, and Hans, I want to get your opinion on this. First off, after that Lohner touchdown, and you cut it to a 6-point game, and all you have to do is get a quick 3 and out. You got plenty of time to go down and score a winning touchdown and avoid a tragic loss if you're the University of Utah, and get out of there with a W. And you give up a 3rd and 11, and you give up another 3rd down on a long touchdown pass. Like Noah Fifita threw 2 dimes, but again, under duress, took big shots, but yet had receivers open down the field. And unfortunately, Utah's defense, which has been the calling card for this team all season long, could not get off the field on 2 critical 3rd downs. That touchdown was on a 3rd down, correct?
It was.
3rd and long.
And it was so 3rd and long. That 3rd and 11, and that first pass that was completed, the guy got behind Smith Snowden. Yeah. Yep, and was phenomenal. But he threw some dimes under pressure.
And so that's, to me, that's the biggest story of the game. Well, there's 2 big stories of the game. First off, you can't get off the field on a critical drive on 2 long 3rd downs to try to get that ball back in your offense. The second thing, and Hans, I want to get your thoughts on this a little bit. And when I say this, please know I'm not calling out individual coaches. I'm not calling out individual players. I don't know if these guys could have gone or not. But Utah rolled the dice with not just Cam Rising, but no Connor O'Toole and no Karene Reed. And you got away with it on the road against Baylor. And I think Utah, I don't know if this was a Big 12 championship game, if those 3 guys could have gone or not, and Utah decided to roll the dice. But you can only get away with this for so long. And you got away with it against Baylor. But I don't care if you're playing Arizona. I don't care if you're playing, Central Florida. I don't care who you're playing. You keep playing Big 12-like opponents, and you're going to get burnt. If you don't have 3 – look, people can say what they want about our top 60 and 60 and be upset about rankings, but you have 3 guys that are not in your lineup that were in our, top 5 or top 6 of our top 60 and 60. And when you don't have that kind of talent available to you, and you're trying to play big boy football week in and week out, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And it caught up to the defense, it's caught up to the offense, and those guys they've got to find a way to get them back in the lineup as soon as they can.
They do, and I just don't put a lot of weight into this game. And Lloyd, I know you watched it and you do the pre and post, and I'm sure Christian had some things to say about this game, and I'm sure that there is a lot of meaning and there's a lot of things that Utah can take from it, but this is not the Utah team that's going to show up in the rivalry game, in my opinion. This is not the team that they're going to make a push to the Big 12 championship with, in my opinion. Now, maybe they thought that they could get by Arizona, but I wonder how much they cared about getting by Arizona. But this is now the second year in a row and all this redemption talk, and we got payback. None of it worked. And you had the home field and you had the home crowd, and Arizona came into that environment and got a 23-10 win because you didn't have the three guys that Scotty is talking about. So you got to get them ready, whatever length it takes. Make sure that those guys are healthy and ready, because this Arizona team just lost whatever it was, 31-6 or 31-9 to the Kansas State team that BYU just buried at home. So this Arizona team, sure, Noah Fifita with his 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, very solid. The Riscano kid, I think that he's an okay runner and had an okay night, but
that's a bigger part of the story, by the way, Hans, is the fact that they gashed him pretty good on the run. I mean, they ran for 160, 180, 197 yards. 161 yards. So, and they gashed him. There's some timely gashes.
They've got a nice 1-2 punch, and I do think that they work well off Noah Fifita. But Scotty, I'm trying to figure it out. Did you think it was just going to be a give me? Because we know who Noah Fifita is.
Yeah. I mean, look, if anybody knows who Noah Fifita is, it's the Utes after last year.
Yeah.
I think there was a feeling. I think you're spot on with that, Scotty. I don't know what their status as far as what percentage. I feel like there was a lot, and this is just a personal feeling, and I think it's a feeling that I won't speak for anybody else, but that they looked at it that, hey, we just got out of Stillwater with a win with our true freshmen. Our defense feels pretty solid, and we did just enough offensively. Gosh, if we could just get another – I mean, we're at home now. It's a blackout game. It's, if we could just get another game and get to the bye week with Cam Rising, resting that hand, with Connor O'Toole and Corinne Reed, getting all the way healthy because we're going to need them. I feel like it was a gamble, and it's a gamble that, if it was a gamble, it's a gamble that lost for him, and now you find yourself 1-1 in the Big 12. And truthfully, I mean, look, if we want to go glass half full, I mean, if I would have told you guys that Isaac Wilson was going to play this much in the season, and going into, and we didn't know what we knew about Oklahoma State after playing them, and we didn't know what we knew about Arizona, where would you have Utah as far as
the record?
What their record? Yeah, what would you have the record, knowing that Isaac Wilson's going to be
4-1? So
they're sitting. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a little bit positive about it, if Utah fans would like to be positive about it, they're sitting right where I think you would have them with Isaac Wilson. But it feels like it was right there to be 5-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure that they want to be 5-0, but
absolutely,
if I'm going with Isaac Wilson and I'm Andy Ludwig, I'm making sure that we've got 200 rushing yards, that we eat clock, that our defense keeps Arizona around 17-21, and we find a way to get 28. And the thing that worries me is if you're going to have any type of season with Isaac Wilson, let's just say Cam Rising can't go for a long period of time, and it's going to be Isaac Wilson. You better find a consistent run. And you're going to have to find a way to run into defenses that are expecting the run. And we know that the Big 12 has some great scheming, and they can scheme against the run, and you can have a major impact on running yards even without the talent. We've talked a lot about that this year, Scotty.
Yep.
So you're going to have to find a consistent run. It's going to have to be 1-2 punch. You're going to have some speed to the outside. You're going to have some speed on the inside. You're going to have some power. And I felt like the run game was stalled out a little bit. Lloyd, you tell me what you saw from the run game.
It felt like they got
did they push it enough?
No, I think they got away. I mean, they got away from it, and they got behind a little bit. And I mean, you got 40 attempts for Isaac Wilson. But if you look at the stats, if you look at, Mekhi Bernard had success. He had 16 attempts for 91 yards. Like, I think the thing is so this is, by the way, this is what threw Bruce off, because those 2 field goals just sat in my mind like, man, those are getting more valuable as you get further in this game. Those 2 field goals, and granted they lost by 13, but I don't know, mentally maybe it's a different game when you have those points on the board where you go into halftime 10-9, and all of a sudden, this is what threw him off. I said, I tweeted out, I'm going to go ahead and kick this dead horse right now, but boy, those field goals look, mighty nice right now. We should have a 16-6 game or a 16-16 game. It's a tied ball game, and maybe it's a little bit different. I don't know, but it felt like, I mean, you only had 29 attempts total, and Isaac Wilson, he didn't do anything. You only ran Mike Mitchell 3 times. Like there, I don't think there was a concerted effort, to run the ball. And like I said, maybe that's because in those field goals, the way those drives went, I told you 8 minutes, roughly 7 minutes. I mean, the plan was to shrink do what they do and own the time of possession and shrink the game. But if you do that and you come away with no points at all,
well,
like whether it's field goals, you shrink the game that much before you know it, because that clock's running. The game has gotten a lot shorter now with the way the clock runs.
Oh yeah, it moves.
So those points are valuable.
There's a part of me that understands what Andy Ludwig was seeing and what he was thinking. And Scotty, you watched that first drive.
Yeah.
That first drive, yes, it stalled out, and you got stopped on a 4th trying to hit it on the outside. And Arizona knew what was coming. You saw the front that they threw out there defensively, and they knew what was coming. And it was a great stop on 4th, so Arizona deserves some credit for that. But in that drive, you watched Isaac Wilson with placement, with body control. When he rolled out to his left, and I can't remember if it was Dorian Singer or who it was, but in that
likely
first drive,
Dorian Singer.
When he rolled out to his left, and he kind of turned his body sideways with the right arm throw and torqued his body kind of to the left as he's running to his left but throwing right-handed. It's a tough throw, and put some zip on it.
Yeah.
And put it on target for a first down conversion, continuing the drive, and then hit Brant Keithy in the seam. And it was like chop, 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 watching this offense and watching the throws, and it probably generated a little bit of confidence of, well, I think we can hit him in this area. Because there was no question what Arizona was trying to do defensively. They were like, we're going to throw everybody we can at every gap that they've got, and we're going to make sure that they're absolutely forced to throw it. And Isaac was throwing it and completing it, and it probably gave Andy Ludwig some feeling of confidence, and it just fell flat when you needed it the most. And you had some empty throws and completions, and when you really needed it, it wasn't there. And when you really needed the run game, Arizona was still sticking to their guns of, we know how we're going to try to win this game. So it was a great defensive game plan by Arizona. It's a freshman quarterback in Isaac Wilson who is going to be great, people.
Yep.
Just relax. He's going to be great. Don't pile on him. Don't get all bent out of shape. I know this is a season where you can't afford Isaac Wilson, but this is not. Everybody stop it. This is not going to be an Isaac Wilson season. This is still a Cam Rising season. He is going to be back. He is going to play. He is healing fingers. There's more damage than a cut. This has gone to some type of dislocation and some type of ligament damage. This is not a cut anymore. So I don't want to hear anybody giving me any excuses. And I'm telling you right now, there is the most top secret hand down from this staff and this university that I have witnessed in my 18 years of coverage in this market. Scotty, you can agree.
Yep.
Lloyd, you can agree. I'm talking about everybody has their mouth shut. And everybody is misleading. And everybody is trying to do everything they can to throw anybody off their trail. And you know what? I respect it. I mean, I could sit here and be mad and feel misled and feel mistreated and feel like, well, yeah, but they should tell me the truth at the very least. Screw all that crap. It's not about journalistic integrity and telling your buddy how you feel and about treating the media the right way. Screw that. That's not what saves jobs. That's not what wins championships. It's lying. It's deceit. It's making sure that everybody thinks one thing and you're doing another. And that's all that matters. And that's what Utah's doing right now. And it didn't work out for Arizona. But you know what? If they lie through the bye week and if they lie going through the next 4 or 5 games and it gives them any type of strategical advantage, more power to them. Just go win. Go in. And that's all that Scotty, Lloyd, and I want to see from you. Just go win. But I'm going to tell you this. It ain't no stinking cut. It ain't no 5 stitches.
No.
It ain't no simple wound that's keeping Cam Rising out because Isaac Wilson didn't beat him out. I promise you that. There is a real issue with his hand, and he should have a little extra time, and he should be back. And when he's back, then that's the team that we make judgments off of. Can they be a Big 12 championship team? Are they who we thought they were with this roster? Until then, it's like, man, Isaac's going to be a great quarterback. Relax. He'll be great. Andy Ludwig's still a great offensive coordinator. Just relax. They'll get a run game going when there's a true pass threat and they have to respect their quarterback. Relax. They'll get the pass rush going when Connor O'Toole and Corinne Reed get back. Just relax, and you're just going to have to overlook this Arizona loss and let Utah lick their wounds.
It's you're right on all counts. It's easier said than done for Utah fans who had dreams of undefeated seasons and college football playoffs. But guess what? All of that's still available to you. All of that's still available to you. You got a bye week. You got a schedule that lightens up a little bit, and you get your guys back in the lineup, and you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. All right, Hans, you had a front row seat to an absolute beatdown yesterday. Now, I know it got a little nervous down the stretch, and we'll talk about that. But let's talk about the first half as BYU put on a clinic on the road against Baylor. You put on a clinic in your pregame meal. We'll talk about that.
And postgame.
But my goodness.
Yeah, that was dirty.
I told you earlier in the week, I had a weird feeling about this game. I didn't feel good for BYU for some reason. And I felt like, I don't know, like they were key for a letdown. And I thought, the early game and all this and all the press clippings and everything else, that this felt like it had the trap, the feeling of a trap game right before a bye week. And they came out and just absolutely made a statement in that first half.
They did. They opened up a can. They took that first possession right out of the gates. Baylor deferred. They won the toss. They deferred. BYU was like, give us the ball. They took that first possession and crammed it down their throat. They went 80 yards of just ground and pound, punching them in the face, dink and dunks, and they go to the end zone. It was like, geez. That's pretty convincing, 7-0. Defense comes out on the field for Baylor's first offensive possession. Very first play, Baylor takes the snap. Sawyer Robinson, the quarterback, drops the pocket. Defense starts to collapse in just a lane rush. Nothing, no type of pass rush. They all thought it was going to be a run. So just a lane rush. Quarterback goes to throw it. Big John Nelson puts a paw up. Pops that thing in the air. Blake Mangelson and Scotty, who have I talked about all year long? Blake and John.
And I want to say this, not just all season long, all summer long leading up to the year you were talking about this guy.
Yeah, these two D tackles. And so John Nelson bats it, Blake Mangelson catches it. It's offensive possession now on like the 20 or 25 or somewhere in there, and BYU just pounds them, punches them right in the face. 14-0 before you could even blink. The thing I loved about this game, you don't often get to see this. It was an interception on the first offensive play for Baylor, and it was an interception on the last offensive play for Baylor. Bookending interceptions that started and ended the game. And I loved it. I mean, that's just a great way to do it, and especially when you, Lloyd, and myself have been sitting here talking about this BYU defense, and it was BYU's defense that did it. So that first half, Scotty, was incredible. It really was.
Well, and the thing that really jumps out to me is the fact that BYU, it's one thing when you're the good team and the better team and you just kind of go through the motions and get a W. It's another thing when you're the better team and you act like the better team. And that's what's really impressing me about this team is they've got a certain swagger to them that's really, really fun to watch. Now, we talk about the good, and trust me, we'll stay on the good and talk about a lot of the good things that happened. But the second half, you allow Baylor to kind of creep into the game. The offense struggles in the second half. You only score that field goal, and Baylor has an opportunity to take the lead. They cut it to a 6-point game. So what went right in the first, and what in your opinion, with what you saw, did they struggle with in the second?
Well, we just know that everything was stacked against Baylor, and they went in at halftime, and I'm sure that Dave Aranda, their head coach, had a little chit-chat with them.
Yeah.
Because
guys,
his
this
job's
is my
on
job.
the line.
My wife wants to remodel the kitchen. What are we doing here?
Who was that coach that lost his mind on the bus when he was I think it might have been the D-line coach or something.
Yeah, I think it was like in Alabama. Like it was a big-time school, too.
Like in Nebraska or
yeah.
And the
and
kids
they videoed
were laughing.
it. Yeah.
And the coach lost his mind. And I felt that from the coach. And it actually has kind of changed my feeling and opinion on where coaches come from when they blow up. But I'm sure Dave Aranda was in there saying, "You MFs think this is funny? You want to sit here and laugh?" That first time, and because they came out and they took that first offensive possession, Scotty, converted 2 4th downs.
Yeah.
They went for it on fourth a couple of times, had a 3rd and 12 that they had to convert. It ate up 7 or 8 minutes, and they went and scored on that first possession out of the gates, and it was like, oh, okay, well, now everybody better wake up, because at that point it was 31. I believe BYU had 31 in the first half, right, Scotty?
Yeah, 31-14 at half, yeah.
Yeah, it was only 3 in the second half. And Greg and I went to break, and we looked at each other like, okay. I actually said coming back from break, I said, well, I can't undo my belt yet. I can't remove my tie. I can't sink in my chair, and we're not going to have a lot of fun here for the next quarter and a half, because I just knew that they were in for war. And Baylor had decided, well, we're going to come out and compete. I felt like it was more on Baylor than anything. So this is what I love. So BYU was playing a lot of safe zone. They were playing some too high safety, and they were really leaking offsets and getting to their quarters, and everybody was kind of playing this soft zone look. And Sawyer Robinson, the Baylor quarterback, just started making them pay. And I'm watching Sawyer force into these zone gaps. And I said, I think Jay Hill's going to make a change. And I said, I think Jay Hill's going to make a change. He's going to go to press, and he's going to bring pressure. And I'll be damned if it wasn't within 2 plays, Jay Hill goes all press and starts bringing corner, nickel, and safety pressures, and they start hitting them and confusing them and batting passes and stopping drives, and the defense started to get in the mix when they really needed it, kind of beginning parts of the fourth quarter, then through mid parts of the fourth quarter. stopping possessions that would have absolutely won it, and then really got aggressive at the back end of the fourth quarter when the game was on the line, when you might have gone prevent and you might have think to play it safe. Jay Hill, classic Jay Hill, and the three of us, how long have we been watching Jay, boys?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in this state, as a special teams coordinator and defensive coach at Utah and Weber, we know him. And he just – I can just see him, like, gritting his teeth and shaking his head like, okay, you guys want to play? We'll play. And he threw some hard things at him. And Tyler Batty stepped up in those critical minutes, forced a holding call, split a double team, got pressure, got in the quarterback's face, did everything he could. And then Crew Wakely ends up ending it with that interception. And it was just a perfect way for BYU to finish things off and get their first Big 12 road win since entering into the Big 12.
I don't think you can overestimate that game enough, Lloyd, in terms of the meaning. Now, granted, look, I know Baylor's not great. They got a coach that's squarely on the hot seat. But to be able to check a couple boxes yesterday, first off, your first day game, matinee game that you've won in the last 10 tries. They were 0-10, as Hans brought up a lot this week. And then your first Big 12 road game, you check that off. Unable to pick up one of those last year, you get your fifth win, 5-0 to start the season. You'll be top 20. And so all of that going into a bye week, the momentum on that is absolutely huge to be able to carry that into an off week to heal up and make sure you're ready for the stretch run of the season, for the second half of the season. I don't think we can overestimate how the value of that individual win against a team that Hans mentioned they had to have it. Like Dave Aranda really needed that win for job security purposes, and he couldn't get it done. BYU shut the door.
And guys, we have talked about it. We said, as fans were, a little bit restless last season. We said, hey, you're getting used to a new conference. You're playing, in a P5 conference. Look we said it. Look at what Utah went through. They went through their bumps, and to get used to the Pac-12, it took time, and they were able to find it. And this defense to be right now 5-0 heading into a bye week is what this defense has been able to do. They finally, we talked about not being able to get pressure and where are the sacks, where are they going to come from, and they got added three more sacks yesterday against Baylor. To be where they're at is, and by the way, it's still a long season. It's not going to say they're not going to still have some bumps and bruises because they're still getting used to this type of this style of play. But where they're at right now is phenomenal. And by the way,
awesome.
Not to go, rivalry talk already, but man, there's such different feelings right now going into the bye week. As Utah's 4-1, and they thought they were going to be able to sneak out a game, and BYU is. I have to imagine the water cooler talk is going to be off the charts. The church talk is going to be phenomenal between these two fan bases because they're, because Utah's we know Utah's still a damn good team. They're still a good team. They're great with Cam Rising, but they're still a really good team. But here's BYU, a team that was picked 13th in the Big 12, and here they are, 5-0, and going to be ranked in the top 20.
Oh, I don't worry about Utah at all.
No, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't worry about it. There's just a different feeling going into the bye week.
Yeah, there is, and it's really nice for BYU to be able to wrap things up, but now they've got to play that Arizona team that we just watched last night against Utah, and that's their next game. And
by the way, Christian,
it's going to be an interesting challenge.
Christian Cox, he said, quote me, I don't even care. Christian has this team, by the way. Christian Cox thinks this team's going to be 7-0. He thinks they're going to get a win. He thinks BYU is going to get a win. They're going to get Arizona at home, and then the Oklahoma State. He thinks they're going to get both. Yeah. He thinks they're going to be 7-0.
He's got Central Florida in there too.
Yep.
So there's 3 games before they get to Utah.
Yeah.
And that Central Florida one now might be a little bit more winnable after what we saw last night. I mean, or is Colorado real? I don't know, guys.
I don't know
who
they are.
Me.
Yeah, that's the thing that we'll spend a lot of time next week talking about. Is Colorado good or is Central Florida not as good? You know, and there's a lot of question marks. This conference is drunk. There's no doubt. And
this conference is drunk.
Good way to put it.
It's just
nothing
makes
happened
sense.
to Kansas?
Yeah.
And what's going on with BYU? And it's like you look around and you're like, what this? It's so funny. We go to these Big 12 media days and we're all there bumping elbows, and the whole crew was there. We had everybody there. And you're bumping elbows, and it's like, yeah, we got it totally figured out. Kansas is going to be a real threat.
Oh, yeah.
Getting everybody back, and you throw Jeff Grimes into the mix, man, Kansas is going to be a dog. And then you're like, man, but this Colorado team, what a poser. and look at Prime. He's just sitting up in the stands. What a bum. He doesn't know what he's doing as a head coach. And Central Florida, who are these guys? We don't even know. Just go away. You guys are cocky. And BYU, oh yeah, 13th? Yeah, 13th in the Big 12. Yeah, that's about right. That's where they sit. I was confident that it was, going to be the 13th and maybe high end they'd get into the 9th, maybe, but still it was going to be difficult to get the bowl eligibility. And you just sit there and you think and then you watch this conference and you feel like Scotty. They're drunk. They are drunk. This conference is wacky, but it is full entertainment.
Oh, it's as good an entertainment as you'll possibly find. I mean, it is just absolutely entertaining because you just cannot get a vibe on what's happening week in and week out in this conference.
It feels like every weekend is Pac-12 after dark, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's wild. It's like it's everything switched. It's like all these Pac-12 teams brought the craziness over with them into this conference.
Yeah.
Why do I see 13-year-old Scotty sitting in front of his TV with that gigantic satellite with this scrambled image, and he's trying to see football through the pixels?
Yeah, it was football that I was trying to see through those pixels.
Oh, that satellite, that dirty, filthy satellite. And your parents all the time, oh, don't worry, those channels are scrambled.
Oh,
he can't
awesome.
get those football games.
Yeah, he can't find that. He can't find those football games. There's no way.
Man.
Oh man, you know what though? It's fun for us because you just don't know. And Hans, was there a moment where you felt like, because there's some games that get close and you feel like, they're still going to win. They're still going to win. Did you feel that way about BYU, or was there moments where you're like, hey, they may actually blow this thing?
Full truth serum, 100% honest. I never felt like they were going to lose it. Not at any point. I never felt like they were going to lose it because I've talked about this a lot. When you have a good to great defense, you've got a special team.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted BYU's defense on the field because I trust their defense a lot more than I trust their offense.
That's the point.
And when push came to shove, I wanted Crew Wakely and Blake Mengelson and John Nelson and Glasker, and that's who I wanted on the field. So I really never felt like they were going to lose it. Now, things got pretty tense. There was a bad situation that happened at the back end of this. So BYU had a chance to run out the clock. There was about 2 minutes left, and they got a run for 5 yards. They just got possession, and they had a run for 5 yards, and it put them 2nd and 5, and it felt like the drive was ready to go. And all of a sudden there's this little scrum, and I see this flag come out of this scrum, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on? It ends up being a 15-yarder, a flagrant, some type of back and forth between Caleb Etienne and a Baylor defender. And I'm kind of losing it at that point because it's like, man, you got to keep your cool. I don't know who the heck just got that, but it took them from a 2nd and 5 It was half the distance to a goal. It ended up putting them 2nd and 20, where they had to run the ball. They can't throw the ball. They had to run the ball to keep the clock and at least eat some of the timeouts. But what ended up happening was it ended up saving the clock, stopping the clock, saving the clock, keeping an extra timeout on the board for Baylor, and then giving the ball back to Baylor on a punt that put them at their own 40 or 45. And they had a minute and 30 seconds from their own 45 with one timeout to go win this game. They're down by 6 to go win this game. And I still was like, man, this defense is so tough. Coming into that game, guys, they had not given up a passing touchdown. Now, they gave up a couple in this game, but coming into it, they hadn't given up a passing touchdown. And they had figured out with some man press and some pressures what they wanted to do defensively at that point. And I just didn't have a lot of concern. And then Tyler Batty turns up the juice and forces a hold and then forces a pressure, and Crew Wakely comes down with the interception, and the game was over. It was a great way for them to finish it. But no, Scotty, I really at no point did I feel like they were going to lose that.
Well, here's the thing. We now have 2 games on the road in which the opposition had a chance to either tie or win a game. And remember, BYU's at SMU, and they go down, they kick the field goal, they're up 18-15, and SMU has a chance to go down and either kick a field goal to send it to OT or score a touchdown and win the game. And they don't gain a single yard. They go 4 and out and don't gain a single yard against that BYU defense. Then you fast forward 3 weeks to this game on the road again against Baylor, and as you laid it out, Baylor has a chance to drive down and score a touchdown and win the game. And I don't know, did they even get a first down on that drive? I'm not sure if they did or not.
No.
But because Wakely comes up, plays center field. They force a bad pass. That's the easiest interception he'll have in his career as he comes right over the top and picks it off and ends the game. So BYU's defense shuts the door on the road 2 times this year, and we're only 5 games into the season. And, I mean, look, we saw what SMU – what did SMU put up yesterday? SMU is doing all kinds of damage right now. They put up 42 on Florida State, 66 against TCU. So their last 2 games, after only scoring 15 and no offensive touchdowns against BYU, SMU has got over 100 points. They've got 108 points. 66 against TCU, 42 against Florida State.
Hey, what does Kansas State have on the bookends? So what they did last night, what did they have, 40-something last night? And I want to know the bookends of what Kansas State's got, because they also just punked Kansas State. Kansas State didn't even score a touchdown on them. And Kansas State has put up some big offensive numbers.
Let's see here. Kansas State, again, before BYU, they put up 31 against Arizona. And then they put up 42 against Oklahoma State. And then 9 against BYU right in the middle.
So you tell me, buddy. You tell me, Lloyd. I'm looking at the defense, and I'm just in awe. I will throw one piece of bad news in there. Harrison Handley. There's a throwback.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that the old U tight end?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how far that even goes back. I mean, I don't even. Wow. Sometimes I don't even understand how my brain works. But Harrison Taggart goes out of that game yesterday with some type of hand or wrist injury. And we talked to Kalani after the game, and Kalani said that he didn't feel like it's major, and he's not overly worried about it. So I'm not. But Connor Pay went down too with some type of foot or ankle injury. He didn't seem overly worried about it, said they're going to get it checked out, but they do have a bye week. So This is what you're hoping. You're hoping that you get Harrison Taggart, Connor Pay, Evan Johnson, and L.J. Martin back after this bye week. And that's what I'm expecting right now. I don't see those 4 guys being unable to come back. I don't think they're season ending. I think LJ Martin's had time to rest it now, and I think that he should be ready. But if you can get Evan Johnson, Harrison Taggart, Connor Pay, and LJ Martin back, then this team, I'm not drawing a ceiling. There will not be a game, period. There will not be a game on their schedule in the remainder of this season that I would doubt that they've got a real chance to step out of it with a win.
Well,
Crazy.
tell you what, this BYU
Guys,
defense is no joke, man.
This BYU defense is so good and just clicking on all cylinders, and we've talked at length about it, Scotty. Having Gary Anderson be a part of it, and this is what I thought this defense was going to be from the get-go. It's like last year really confused me because it started out good and then it just fell off a cliff. And there were no pressures and there were some problems, but you know that this staff is the real deal. And we're just starting to see it all come together. A bunch of brilliant defensive minds that know how to get stuff done.
Yeah.
If this is the case, by the way, you're going to have more and more like DCs going out trying to have a heart attack. Jay Hill should not be what he's done with. I mean, the guy is just, we talk about it fresh off a heart attack, and this defense is just, he's like, I'm good. I'm still going to keep grinding. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Like, geez, like this. And Gary helping out like this. It's good to see this defense do what we thought that it could do.
So just to kind of sum it up here, a couple things. Number one, BYU breaks the trend of morning kicks. They were 0-10. They break that trend. BYU had not been able to get a road win in the Big 12. They bust that trend. Coming into this game, Baylor had 8 sacks against Colorado in one game, 8 sacks. And they couldn't hardly get to the quarterback. 0 sacks, very few pressures, and BYU lost Connor Pay, and for a little bit lost Waylon Lapuahu, who did come back.
That was good to see.
Lost him for a bit, and they're playing a former defensive lineman, Bruce Mitchell. They're having to play him because they were getting down, and still no pressures, no sacks. Scotty, Dave Aranda could not manufacture pressures. It was wild to see. Darius Lassiter putting up incredible numbers. He ended up with 8 for 120 and a touchdown. By the way, he left another 50 or 60 yards on the field with 2 drop catches. So it's very impressive. And this bye week is a perfect time. I'm glad they have 2 bye weeks. And this is a bye week that comes at a perfect time to get healthy. And I am riding high, man. I've got huge expectations, and I can't wait to see where this team goes. And I've got no worries with Utah. I've got none. Because that Utah team you watched against Arizona, they don't have their leadership. They don't have their quarterback. They tried their butts off. But they're going to be better when they get everybody they need back.
Like I said, as far as Utah anyways, like – we had Isaac Wilson was going to play as much as he was, you probably would have had this team at 4-1. So they're kind of where they'd be. And by the way, while you're doing that, while you're sitting at 4-1, and you're still going to be ranked in the top 20, you're getting your true freshmen a lot. I mean, here's another positive: you're getting them a lot of reps, and these are good reps. By the way, he's found a real rapport with Dorian Singer. That dude had a ball game. I mean, you had a receiver to go for 155 yards receiving. Might be zeroing in on him a little bit too much. I mean, I think there's like 18 targets. That's quite a bit. But you're seeing some good things. And Cam's we know what the story is with Utah. Utah will go as far as Cam can take him, and that's you're going to need to get him back.
Got to get him back.
It's that simple. All right. Well, Hans, I know you got to go.
Story time?
Well, I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll
Real
tell you
quick?
this really quick because Scotty brought it up. We had some issues with the pregame mill. So it's we're there at 7:30. we're there. It would have been 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 here, and they're serving chili cheese dogs. And I was like, I'm hungry. I wanted some breakfast. I needed to wake up and get going. And so I did it. I was like, screw this. And the chili was a no-bean chili. It was all meat. And I loaded it up, huge ladlefuls of this chili, and threw a bunch of onions and cheese. And I hit it with these bacon crumbles and a little bit of mustard. I did a big dollop of sour cream on the side. I just didn't mention it because I felt like that was excessive.
Oh, yeah.
But so and a Diet Coke, Scotty, because
calories.
Calories.
Because I'm watching my figure.
So I'm not even kidding you guys. So we're in the second quarter, and 2-3 minutes left. And I've never been pregnant, but if I ever had been,
so, Junior,
and feeling the baby turn, and when you've seen the baby turn in your wife's belly where it like turns, and you see like that. I felt it turn. I felt the whole thing turn, and I'm like, oh. And then my first thought was, it's breech. I was like, this thing's breech. And I knew I was going to be dealing with a bloodbath with that mess and misery. Anyways, story goes that I'm like, I can't do this here. I need to be in private. And so I come back to the hotel, and I'm like, geez, I can't. Now I'm all stopped up. And it just continues to gurgle. So what do? You find the biggest chicken fried steak in Texas.
Push it through.
And you push it through because, grease.
Yeah, exactly.
And I sent you a picture of that chicken fried steak, Scotty.
Yes, sir.
So I actually used my phone because I know my phone is 5.5 inches. I used my phone to measure that fried steak. That steak was 12. No, the Scotty, fried steak. That fried steak was 12.5 inches long by 8.5 inches wide.
Hell yeah.
12.5 by 8.5. And I had about 2 cups of mashed potatoes, about 2 cups of string beans that you take from being healthy to adding bacon, sauteed onions, and enough butter to tip a cow over. And I put that on top of it. Now listen to this, and this is the truth. And Rubel and Mitch and everybody will verify it because they were at the dinner with me. I did chocolate cake. I did a scoop of cookies and cream ice cream. I did half a loaf of bread pudding. And I did a couple of bites of a creme brulee. And let me just tell you, this flight's going to be interesting because there's no movement. And I don't know what's happening to me.
Whoa!
I just don't know what's happening to me.
I'm
headed to the airport.
Oh.
No, and I feel like I am a walking brick of
ER.
food right now.
Wow! You might need something to
help.
You.
I know how a dog feels when it swallows a sock and is like, that sock is not going through.
That's
wow!
Right there.
Anyways,
I've never done
the worst flight of my life.
I've never called a full timeout on a airplane before. A lot of 20-second timeouts, but never a full timeout. You might have to go a full timeout on the airplane, and that will be.
Luckily, I've got a lot of food in me.
Luckily, those bathrooms are built for guys of your size.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, that's going to be about a 20-foot jumper.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Al Jefferson 20-foot push jumper.
There's your Wheezy right there, man.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, there's your Wheezy.
Anyways, these stupid morning after stories.
Oh man, good luck with all of that.
speaking of airplane, boys, I got to roll.
Yeah, get out of here. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Hans and Scotty, that's your Morning After podcast. We got a lot of crazy football to talk about tomorrow. That crazy Georgia-Alabama game, what's going on with Colorado, get you ready for Utah State after their bye week. They're on the road against Boise State. So we got a lot to break down. We'll do it all tomorrow. It begins at noon. This is your Morning After podcast. Please subscribe to the Hans and Scotty feed. Please give us a rating, preferably 5 stars. Leave us a review. That all helps us out and makes it worthwhile to wake up early on a Sunday morning and give you all the latest. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This has been your Morning After podcast with Hans, Scotty, and Lloyd Cole. Catch more of the Hans and Scotty Show weekdays from noon to 3 and in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your podcasting platform of choice. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.